Hello, everyone. This is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today, our guest is Victor Aguirre, who will be fighting on APFC number 10. Hello, Victor. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. On APFC number 10, it will be your pro debut. It will happen in April. So it's less than 2 months before your fight. So how do you feel before the pro debut?
I'm feeling really good. Feeling very motivated. It's a really exciting time. This is kind of a big milestone for me. So yeah, it's just spirits are high right now.
And you will be fighting against, I think, a really solid fighter. He's 5-2. He finished all of his wins. It's Devin Evitz. So, what do you think about this opponent? And did you have any chance to watch any of his fights?
Yeah, I did have a chance to watch some of his fights, and after watching them, it just got me like really excited because I mean, I'll say like I think he's a really good fighter. He's got good striking, he's got good wrestling, good grappling. He looks very athletic, and like you had mentioned, in 5-2 amateur, he finishes all of his fights. I finished all my fights, so I mean, just on paper, it sounds like it's going to be a really good fight, really exciting, and I think he's going to be the biggest challenge I've ever faced. And I also think I'm going to be the biggest challenge he's ever faced. So I think that's really exciting for us both, really. So yeah, when I heard it was him and I got to like look at his fights, I was like, this is gonna be a cool challenge. It'll be a cool thing to like overcome. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be awesome.
It's probably won't be a 3-round fight because of your styles.
Yeah, I don't think either of us are really planning on it. I'm sure he's looking to get a quick finish. I'm looking to get a quick finish. I think we're both ready to go 3 rounds. He looks very athletic. I know I'm very athletic. I think we're both ready to go all 3 rounds, but I mean, they don't pay us by the hour, so I'm sure we're both going to be ready to get out of there quick.
And how your camp is going for now?
Camp's going good. Training's really good. Train about twice a day, and then I'll work out in between that, and everything's going good.
And how many days in the week?
I'll do that consistently Monday through Thursday. Then I train once Friday night, and then I'll train Saturday morning and Sunday morning.
So every day actually.
Yeah, every day I try to do something every day. I don't like to just sit in bed all day. That's not really how I like things. I like to stay busy.
And what was the reason behind going pro? Because you were 5-0 as the amateur. So did you feel that it's like perfect moment for you to let's say new challenges?
Um, yeah, it was like there weren't a whole lot of fights left for me as an amateur, and like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I probably could have took fights, but it would have probably felt like I was like punching down. Like it would have felt like, I mean, the fights available left that like would have been guys that weren't on my level, and like that's not what I want to do. I don't want to like enter a mismatch and like fight someone that isn't ready for it and like beat them up. Like I want to like have a challenge. I want to have like a harder fight. I want to have something that like makes me like realize like I gotta go to the gym. I gotta practice. I gotta get ready for this guy. Like I need to have that motivation. I don't want to be punching down like that.
And like some of your previous fights look like this, that it was a quick takedown, ground and pound, and quick finish. So this opponent may bring some challenges for you.
Yeah, that's always the hope. And that's kind of what I was hoping for from like every fight. Every fight I've ever had, I'm like, hopefully this guy brings something that the last guy didn't. And um so that is kind of what I'm hoping for because my plan is to be able to fight at the highest level. And I'm not going to get there by just like beating people up really quick, like in and out in a minute. Like I need to have some challenges in the cage before I get there. So that's always the hope is that these guys bring it. And my last two amateur fights, those guys definitely brought it. They got me out of the first round. So it was nice to kind of test the pacing there. But um, I'm hoping that Devin Evans like brings some challenges that the other guys haven't, and I mean he definitely has the skills for it, so I think he will.
And you were 3-0 in Antonin Petty's fighting championship, so you were undefeated in a very big promotion. It's of course it's like amateur fights, but still it's like I think that it's a big like thing for the fighter to have most of his fights on this kind of promotion.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge thing to like accomplish, especially with like it's different than most shows because there's so much exposure. Like to fight for APFC, there's so many people there from fight one to the end of the night. Like the building's usually packed. To have that type of experience where you're fighting in front of that many people and knowing that it's streaming live, like I mean, I have family from outside of the state that are watching from home on YouTube. Like I mean, it's more than just the people you see in the building. So there is like a lot of added pressure, a lot of there's a lot to overcome, and anyone that like fights for that show, they'll tell you like I mean, it's a different environment. It's really cool.
And definitely many fighters from this organization in 1 or 2 years will be in the UFC. Even from the next show, APFC number 10. I think that even now few of the fighters from this card could be in the UFC.
Yeah, it does seem to be like a fast track way to get there. And like again, you're fighting on UFC Fight Pass, and you're fighting in front of some pretty important names in the sport. And like if you put on a good show, it seems like the right path. I mean, that's how my brother ended up getting to the UFC. I mean, he fought for APFC, and then within the year he's fighting for the UFC. So it's definitely like I'm in the right spot if that's where I want to end up.
And if we can talk a little bit about your beginnings in the sport, was it MMA the first combat sport that you ever trained, or did you have any other background?
No, I started with wrestling when I was a kid. I think I was in elementary school. I was really little, and I joined the wrestling team. And then from there, I started training at an MMA gym and learning a little bit of grappling. A lot of the techniques they were teaching were like kind of almost like a hybrid between like jujitsu and catch wrestling. Like some of them were like legit submissions, some of them were more like catch wrestling techniques. Um, so it gave me like this really unorthodox grappling style to have all that. And then as I got older, I started like training like fundamental, like traditional jujitsu, training Muay Thai, and then I believe it was like has to be almost 2 years now. I've been training at VFS.
So it's a big team. When I'm thinking about this team, I'm thinking about Yair Rodriguez especially.
It's not the biggest team actually. It's the team's smaller than you would imagine. Like when you look at like the big gyms, like when you're watching like UFC Countdown or something like that, and they got like 100 guys in one room. It's not really like that. It's a little bit smaller, but everyone in there's a killer. Like, I mean, you show up for like a sparring day, like I mean, you're gonna get beat up a little bit, and it is cool. It's exactly what you need to get ready for a fight because every single one of those guys that train there can bring a fight.
So who is your like regular sparring partner if when you are in the camp?
Someone I consistently spar with is my brother Nick. I always get at least one round in with him every sparring day. We train together a lot on like regular practices. He's the perfect partner. It's exactly the type of person that I need to be training with.
And what would be, in your opinion, the one thing in your arsenal that you have to improve?
Um, Honestly, I wouldn't even say one. I think it's everything. It's every day I try to improve everything. It's like I'm not complacent with just focusing on one thing. Like I don't want to sit there and just be like, oh, I gotta focus on my wrestling. I gotta like get my wrestling better. It's not just that. I gotta get my grappling better. I gotta get my striking better. I gotta get in better shape. I gotta get faster. I gotta hit harder. I'm always telling myself like, I'm doing great. I'm doing good, but there's always room for improvement. Like even if you're the best fighter in the world, you still have to be improving.
In your fights, we can see that you are a very, very good grappler with both takedowns, with submissions. Of course, your ground and pound. I think that is also a really dangerous thing. And if we are talking about grappling, do you start in any kind of BJJ or overall grappling competition?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of jiu-jitsu competitions before I started fighting. But once I started fighting, I kind of like started doing a little bit less. A lot of layoffs in between jiu-jitsu competitions. I think a lot of it is just like to me, I just have more fun fighting and I like focusing on fighting. And I don't really want to pay $100, $200 to go to a jiu-jitsu tournament when it's like I don't want to spend all that money.
Yes, yes, I think that it's a good way of thinking, especially that you can like show your grappling skills in the MMA fights.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can do my grappling there. I can grapple in the gym. Like I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars to go watch someone scoot on his butt in front of me. Yeah. So I don't really like to sign up for stuff really.
And what is your favorite submission? Because in your fights we can see a rear naked choke, arm triangle. So is it one of these two, or maybe something else?
I definitely like to lean towards strangles. That's how I feel more comfortable training. Is I like chokes better. You see you see a lot of injuries happen when people are going for locks, like whether it be like leg locks, heel hooks, arm bars, even Kimuras. Like you'll see some injuries happen with those. I mean, the worst thing that happens when a choke goes wrong is a guy passes out, but I mean nothing's broken. Which, so like with that in mind, like I just started like just training chokes and like doing chokes and training all of the time because I didn't want to hurt anyone, and then I just got really good at them. So then I was like, in competition, it was like, just go for the chokes because you're really good at those.
So when you are next to your opponent with his neck close to you, it's obviously a dangerous position for him in probably either way. Is it like a guillotine choke, arm triangle, or the rear naked? He will be in the danger all the time.
Yeah, I have a lot of interesting setups too. A lot of them are kind of unorthodox. I think that's what makes me the most dangerous on the ground is like I don't really roll like traditional jujitsu guy. Like a lot of my stuff is kind of weird, not what you would typically see. So yeah, I mean it's something you I would advise people to keep an eye out for. But I mean I can set up any submission. Like I can set up leg locks, I can set up arm bars, I can set up kimuras.
And how many fights would you like to have this year?
If I remained perfectly healthy and injury free, I'd love to do five. But I mean, that is, I mean, I say that to people and they're like, you're aiming kind of high, like maybe three or four. But like, if I could do five, I'd love to do five.
So being either 4-0 or 5-0, you can challenge for the title in the APFC in next year.
Yeah, that would definitely be cool to have. I would love to do that. Yeah, it's, never say never. So maybe we'll get there. But like, I got a lot of teammates that are at that same weight. So one of them might have it by then. But if none of them have it, then I'll go take it.
And what is your like main goal in MMA? Do you want to be a world champion? Do you want to like challenge yourself and fight with different kind of styles? Like one main goal for you?
My main motivation in this was just conquering challenges, seeing how far could I get into this. There was a time in my life where I wasn't sure that I'd be able to fight. I was like 235 pounds, like working in a warehouse, just like depressed, just like thinking like, man, what am I doing with my life? And now I get to fight. Now I get to like do this, and it's like, well, let's see how good I can get. Let's see like who I can beat. And that's really what it is. I don't have any specific goals like financially or like career wise or anything. It's just I want to see how good can I get, how far can I go.
So changing from this kind of lifestyle that you had to this one that you have right now, I think that it can be super motivational because you can see the road that you came from point A to point B.
Yeah, exactly. It was super liberating, and every time I look back on where I was, I get very like I feel a lot of pride in like where I am now, and I'm happy where I'm at now. and you also have to feel thankful for all the people that supported you along the way. I mean, two amazing parents, and I got my brothers that are always backing me up. I just have such a strong support system with my family, my friends. Uh, no one supports me more than my son, though. I'm like Superman in his eyes, and you know, I don't think I could have done it without any of those people that are just constantly just rooting for me and just making me feel like I'm not so crazy for wanting to do this.
And maybe in like 1 or 2 years, you will be on one of the UFC card with your brother. It would be, I think, also a super cool thing for you.
Yeah, that's when I first started fighting. My very first fight, we fought on the same night. We both won our fights, and I knew that he was gonna get into the UFC. I just knew it. Like watching him fight that night, he looked incredible, and I knew he was gonna get there. And I was like, sorry, excuse me. I was just like, the only way I'll be able to fight with him again is if I get into the UFC. So I might have to, because I had such fun fighting the same night as him. I enjoyed it so much. It was cool, doing our training camps together. So yeah, I mean that's definitely in the cards. I think we might see it one day.
And who is your favorite fighter to watch?
Um, Gee, that's a tough one. I like watching a lot of guys. I tend to aim more towards the grapplers though. I like their styles. Like I like Khabib's style. I like how he just mauls people. Like that's kind of what I like. That's what I want to do is maul people. So I'd probably say Khabib. Khabib's probably a good pick.
And do you like watching a featherweight division in the UFC to see uh, how you can on the paper beat like top level guys?
Oh yeah, I love watching every division. But yeah, I mean, there's a special emphasis if I'm watching bantamweights or featherweights to kind of see what are the best guys my size, what are they doing, how are they fighting. Um, it's definitely cool. I don't think you could throw me in there with them today, but it is cool watching them knowing okay, that's something I got to get better at if I want to be fighting those guys one day.
And this weekend we will have a featherweight title on the line. It will be Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilya Topuria. So, what do you think about this fight, and who will be a winner in your opinion?
I think it's a very interesting fight. Topuria has super crisp boxing. But Volkanovski is such a good striker too. It'll be interesting to see how they are standing. I think grappling Volkanovski has a bit of an advantage, especially since he's added Craig Jones to his camp. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see where the fight goes, and if it hits the ground, if we see any submission attempts or anything like that. I think overall Volkanovski is a little bit better, and I think he's going to edge out the victory. I think he's going to just round by round just pick him up, and I think he'll end up winning. But I mean, you can't count out Topuria. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he won, but I am leaning towards Volkanovski.
Yes, I think that this fight may be interesting, especially because Volkanovski lost his rematch against Islam. Because if it would be another close fight, I think that much more people would think that it will be a maybe not easy, but Volkanovski would be a bigger favorite than he's right now. But because he was knocked out, I think that there is some additional, let's say, interest in this.
That is a very interesting point. Yeah, I mean, he was knocked out, and it's not like he took a lot of time off. He's getting right back in there. So, I, that is something to think about. And I do wonder that, where is he at right now? I mean, has he fully even recovered? But him and everyone at his gym, they all seem to stay pretty busy. So, I mean, maybe it's just out of habit.
And how do you deal with the stress before your fights? Do you have any kind of techniques or maybe visualizations techniques?
Um, yeah, every time I fight, I feel stressed. I'm always stressed. I always have nerves. The best thing that I can do is um, first I do my stretching. I just stretch out, and then I find a nice little just quiet area or the quietest area I can find, and I just say a quick prayer. Just just tell God, thank you for getting me here, and it is the only thing I'm going to ask for is that he gives me all the strength I can to fight as hard as I can. If it's not good enough and I still end up losing, I'm okay with that. I just want to fight as good as I can. I want to stay safe. I don't want to get hurt in front of my son. So just help me fight as good as I can. And usually that kind of clears it up. It just reminds me that, there's someone up there looking out for me, and everything's going to work out in the end, and I'll be okay.
And after the fights, when you are maybe so far it didn't happen because your fights were like quite quick, but when you want to do some break, when you don't want to train after your fight, do you have any kind of spending your time like a passion or hobby?
Not really, no. Like my favorite things to do are all just physical activities. So like, I mean, if I'm like hurt or I can't train or something like that, I'm still gonna go out for a run, or I'm still gonna lift, or like I'm gonna go do something. Like I don't like sitting around and doing nothing. So like, I mean, when I'm not fighting, I'm still training. I'm still like, I have a job. I still go to work. I spend time with my son. He's my best friend in the world. So like, I mean, my life's a pretty simple life. It's just same things. Just work, fight, be a dad. Work, fight, be a dad.
But it can be also be a very good thing because you don't have this additional distraction that you are focused on like very few things, and you don't have to like think about like 10 additional things.
Yeah, it is. It is nice that kind of like you pointed out, there's not a whole lot of distractions going on in my life. Like I'm usually like just focused on like just a few things, and it definitely helps, especially when I'm like getting closer to the fight. It's like just focusing on just the fight and then work, my son. That's it.
Do you have days, let's say in the training camp, that your motivation is a bit off? That you maybe you don't feel that you want to go to the and train. Do you have this kind of days?
Oh yeah, of course I do. I get those days all the time. But it's something that was kind of like drilled into my head when I was wrestling growing up. It was like you got to go anyways. Like you still got to go train. Like if I'm not feeling motivated fight day, I still have to fight. So it's like if I'm not feeling motivated when it's time to train, I still got to go train. It's like still get in there, work.
Yes, there is a like a way of thinking that discipline is more important than motivation. That you have to do something either way. So like you said, you when you will have to fight, it doesn't matter if you are motivated or not.
Yeah, exactly.
And last question, if you can tell me what is your main goal for this year? It can be like from yeah, like your professional side or personal side. What is like one main goal in this year?
I just want to be able to just grow as a fighter and just get as good as I possibly can. If I'm able to stay busy, I'd love to stay busy. But I mean, beyond that, it's just like on a personal thing. Like all I want to do is just make sure my kid's okay, take care of my kid. As long as he's good, and as long as I'm able to train and I'm getting better, like I think I'd be happy with that.
Okay, Victor. So many thanks for the conversation. I hope that your pro debut will be as good as your previous fights, and it will be another like beautiful finish from your side, and that you will have a chance to fight a few more times this year to grow your career in a good direction.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Those are some very kind words, and I'm really happy I got to do this. I've been watching your show, some really good stuff. Hopefully, after this fight, you can have me back on again. Love to talk some more. But yeah, thank you for everything. I appreciate it.